So as first of all, one of the reasons why I decided to deliver this session is because I saw there were many webinars going on, and some were mainly at the level of theory and all the stuff. And I really thought that it was important to have a webinar that could be as practical as possible from the teaching perspective. And when it comes to teaching, especially the teaching of skills. Just so that we know, Gabi will be my my assistant here. I really asked her to do that because I'm a bit clumsy and I get distracted easily. And during my previous presentation, it was difficult for me to pay attention to the chat room, to letting people into the room and all that. So if you have a question or something, remember you have the chat room there. Another thing that I want you to please focus on is that in the chat room, in the list of participants, you also have a tick and a cross mark. That's fantastic if you want to say yes or if you want to say no, okay, to something. You can use those icons. And the other thing is that you also have a reaction button where you can clap if you think that something deserves a round of applauses, okay, or a thumbs up as well. Remember to use those tools. I won't be paying attention to the chat room, but Gabi, if you feel that there is something that really deserves the need for me to stop what I'm talking about, please, Gabi, let me know. And without further ado, I will start the presentation. By the way, there is my email. If you want, feel free to copy that down, okay, and ask me for any further information. I always think that it's important to diagnose whether it's teaching or whether it's in a presentation. So I have a poll of 4 questions, and I will start the voting, okay, for the first question, okay? And it's something very simple. It's which skill do you practice the most online? Okay, so you obviously have the 4 macro skills. I know there are more skills than these, but these are the 4 macro language skills. Okay, if you can cast your vote, that's fantastic. When I see that we have about 70–80% of the people who casted their vote, I will stop the voting and I will share the results with you. And probably we could discover some interesting things, and I will certainly learn a lot about my audience, okay? I know there are more people waiting. If someone try for you not to lose your internet connection, or your spot will be snapped by someone else. Okay. So for the first question, some people are still voting. For the first question, okay, I will stop the voting now. We have the skill that is taught the most on now is reading. And this honestly does not surprise me, because it even happens in the face-to-face classroom. We really love giving students texts, okay, for them to read, because through text we can also teach language, we can teach vocabulary. So not a big surprise. It's very interesting to see that speaking is the second skill that is practiced the most, okay, because some teachers find that very difficult to do online. Now, writing is the skill that is practiced the least, and that does not surprise me as well, because it also happens in the face-to-face classroom, okay? We can see students not practicing writing a lot, and teachers sometimes having difficulties at the moment of practicing writing. Good. Now, Next question has to do with the level of confidence that you have to teach skills online. So there, hand in heart, everybody, there you have your the question. Start casting your vote. How confident do you feel when teaching skills online? So first option is not very confident at all, fairly confident, okay, confident, and very confident, okay? So again, this is, it's anonymous, so feel free to answer with total honesty about level of confidence. And wow, everybody's really answering. That's beautiful. We have more than 80% already. And what happens is that, of course, by a month and a half, almost 2 months of teaching online, most of you are feeling fairly confident. And I hope that by the end of this session, you would feel even more confident, okay? But so far, we have 46% that feel fairly confident, 27 that feel confident, and a timid but very strong 6% that feels very confident. Good thing is that if we add the fairly confident, the confident, and the very confident, that adds up to 80%, which is nice to read, really, okay? If we are confident, our students will be confident. Now, the next question has to do with the difference, okay, between teaching online and teaching face-to-face, okay? Are there differences between teaching skills online and teaching them face-to-face? Okay, and there are 3 possible answers, either yes, no, or so-so, okay? So let's see what you think. Good. It feels that there is a very strong tendency going on among all of us, okay? So we really have total, so far, more than 80% has voted. And I'm going to stop this because this is good enough of a sample. And look at this. 90% thinks that there is a difference. Nobody thinks that this is equally the same. And only 10% think that it could be either there could be some difference or not. And we will discuss this today, okay? And last but not least has to do with the materials that we use to teach online, okay? And here comes a question. Do you teach skills with your coursebook material or with online resources? So the options are only with my online resources, only with my coursebook, or a blend of both, okay? So let's see what the results are. And again, we have a nice sample, okay? So there it is. And most of you are blending materials, okay? Very few of you, only 1% are teaching with the coursebook. You know that deep in my heart, that is making me cry, right? But okay, we need to use coursebook materials, people, because they are a lifesaver for us sometimes, especially these days that we are developing so much material. Sometimes with coursebooks, we can really have some like frozen food, you know. I'm a single guy, and having something in my freezer is always good when I arrive home late at night. That's the coursebook for us at this moment, okay? We have something there in the freezer that we can use, okay? Good. Just in order to make sure that connection goes well, I will stop my video camera, okay? Because you don't really need to look at me, okay? So as to make sure that the transmission is going well. So far, can you all listen to me well? Is everything going okay? Yeah, fantastic. I have a thumbs up from Gavi, and everybody in the chat room is saying yes. So guys, let's just get the party started, all right? So let's start with the agenda for today. What I have is we're going to discuss the advantages of online teaching for each of the 4 language skills. And I just focus on the advantages because I don't want to be the typical Uruguayan that always focuses on the negative things. So let's focus on the positive things about teaching online, because this is a reality and we have to accept it. The other thing that we will be doing is we are going to look into possible activities to implement in the course using both your coursebook material or online resources, okay? I don't know why there is an either, it should have been an and there, okay? So my intention is to give you 20 types of activities that you can use in order to teach skills, okay? And I distributed them 5 of each, okay? I think they are very cool activities and I hope you like them. And the activities are designed for those who have a coursebook to use the coursebook also, and for those who don't have a coursebook to use online resources. And if you have a coursebook but you also want to add new things, that you can you can do the online resources. So let's start practicing reading online, okay? And before we start, I have these 6 statements, okay, that I want you to have a look at, okay? And I'm going to discuss whether these are right or wrong ideas, all right? The first statement says the structure of a reading lesson is different from an online lesson. And the answer for that is wrong, okay? There is no difference, and we need to remember this. There is no difference in the structure of a reading lesson, whether it's online or whether it is face-to-face. And we need to remember this. By the structure of a reading lesson, we mean that in order to work with the text, we need to do our pre-reading, we need to do our while reading, and then we need to do the follow-up or the after reading or the post-reading session. That, guys, doesn't change, okay, whether it's online or face-to-face. What does change, however, is how you're going to work with the different stages. I'm not going to get into this, but by now you are familiar with the concept of synchronic and asynchronic instruction when it comes to online, and the idea of flipped learning. So what we will realize is that teaching online doesn't mean teaching synchronically all the time. And actually, it's not even possible, simply because sometimes the internet connection is not good enough, because there aren't enough devices in my students' houses, because we need to remember that if we are lucky, they have 1 or 2 computers, okay, but mommy and daddy are also probably working from home. So it's very difficult to always have synchronic moments with my students. So what we need to realize is that probably I can do the pre or the after asynchronically, and I might do the while synchronically, or the other way around. It would all depend on different factors that we will discuss. Now, question number 2 says whether learners or for homework depends only on their age. Okay, that's a question that I was asked a lot during the past month. And the answer to that is wrong, okay? Whether we do something online or not does not necessarily depend on age. As I was saying before, if we are working synchronically, probably with the little ones, I wouldn't ask them to read on their own. Our 6, 7, 8 years old, that they are embarking on the process of decoding reading in the foreign language, they might need our help. So
quédate nomás que yo voy escuchando la conferencia. Yo me quedo atrás.
Okay, someone was giving an announcement there. we might need to remember that the while reading for the little ones has to be done, sorry, with them. Gabi, can we mute people? And however, if we are working with teenagers, if we are working with upper primary, or if we're working with adults, the while reading, I highly and strongly recommend that is done asynchronically, okay? They don't really need us while they are reading a text, okay? And that is wasting precious online time. So what I would really like to do with teenagers or adults or the upper primary level group is to work synchronically for follow-up lessons, because those are the moments in which I can also integrate other skills. Now, because I'm clumsy, you already know the answer for number 3. Young learners are more likely to read text in the lesson. The answer is yes, as I said, okay? So remember, if you're a primary school teacher, and I know I have some primary school teachers in the audience, if you're working with the little ones, make sure that you only do reading with them synchronically. And if you can't, because of the many reasons that there might exist, okay, try to make sure that you dosify that text, okay? So that it's not very difficult, because we also need to remember that mommies and daddies cannot always help our kids. Number 4 says, if the lesson focus is reading for specific information, the learners can do the reading in class. And the answer to this is yes, okay? When they're working for specific information, okay, it's a good opportunity to do the while reading in the lesson. And specific information means that I'm working with strategies, all right? So I am asking them to infer, to deduce meaning, I don't know, to recognize purposes, etc. When you're teaching reading skills that are for specific information, they might need our guidance. So that would be an excuse for us to really ask them to read with us. If not, it's not recommended. Now, number 5, if the lesson focus is reading for detailed information, the learners can do the reading for homework. And of course, this is correct. When it's detailed reading, for example, detailed reading would be, what does it refer to, okay? Or I don't know, how many animals did the characters see, or something. Those things that are simply close activities for a detailed reading, that's something that please make sure you do this, you do it asynchronically with students. And the last statement is, when learners read a text for homework, the next lesson can focus on checking the learner's understanding and follow-up work. And that is a definite yes. Okay, that is what online teaching should be about. It should be about them doing something at home, and the little time that we have with them together, it should be for building up, okay, for going further, okay? So in terms of advantages of doing reading online, one of them is that I think there is a wide range of materials available, okay? Sometimes when we are using course books, we only limit ourselves to the text in the course books that probably is not really cool, and students feel that that's boring, okay? So I think it's fantastic that now we are pushed to teach online, because it's fun, we can do and use all the materials that is available online, okay? The other cool thing about reading online is that the content is currently being updated, okay? So, and sometimes, as you know, it happens that we have a text in a book or something, and it says that the famous person has 2 children, but now the famous person has 3 children, okay? And that's something that, because we are using text, online text, all the information is really updated, okay? The other thing is that the vast range of text that exists, okay? We have articles, we have stories, we have blogs, we have posts, we have wikis. I mean, there is a wider range of text typologies we can really expose our students to. The other one is that learners are more used to reading online than from a print book. So actually asking them to read online is kind of cool for them, okay? Because it's what they are used to doing, okay? And finally, the other advantage is that reading online can be used for either intensive reading or extensive reading. And I highly suggest that you go for the extensive reading purposes, okay? That's why I said, ask them to read a lot asynchronically, okay? And promote activities that really demand for extensive reading, okay? But that's enough of theory and all that. I promise practical things. So let's start with the practical thing. So the first activity I want to share with you is a reading race. And this is, for example, something that students can have. They might be using a book or something. And in this case, it's a page from a book. It's information about an island, the Takais Island. And what I suggest with a reading race is that if students have a text already predefined, either because it was a text you selected or because it comes in their book, try to prepare a set of general knowledge questions that you can give students, okay? So in this case, I thought of questions, for example, like how many islands are there in the world? Where is the Polynesia? Which is the largest island in the Polynesia? Or how far is Uruguay from the Polynesia? Or who discovered the Polynesia Islands? So you prepare a set of general knowledge questions. And what you're going to do is you're going to use the chat room, okay, to present the questions, okay? So instead of working with the text with them, this is fantastic for pre-reading, for example, okay? You're going to use the chat room and you're going to present the questions one at a time. And you're going to ask the students to type in the answers. And what will happen is that students will go to Google and look for the question and start reading, okay, and look for an answer. And they can simply copy and paste, or they can write the answer in the chat room. So this is kind of like a game. It's fantastic, they love it, okay? And at the same time, you are expanding the reading, okay? It's not boring text from a book or a text that you selected, okay? And the cool thing about this is that we can have a follow-up. And the follow-up could be that you allow the students to prepare 2 or 3 general knowledge questions, okay? So you really give them the power. They become the protagonist, okay? And it's them who start posting questions in the chat room, and everybody goes and looks for the answer. Everybody, including us teachers, we need to remember that they also see that we can learn with them. Okay, so this makes reading a lot more interactive, and at the same time, it builds curiosity into the reading that we are going to propose, whether it's from a book or whether it's a reading that you selected, okay? And it's meaningful, and what happens is that mommy and daddy can see that their kids are not just bored listening to you while you teach, okay? They really see their students researching, and at the same time, we are helping them to become researchers. So that's the first reading activity that I suggest you to do. The other one is called 5 clicks away. In order to do 5 clicks away, what you need to do is you need to find a website that has many links. Examples of these websites, of course, are news websites, okay, like the BBC website. There are multiple links everywhere, all right? So what you're going to do is you're going to ask students to click 5 links in a website, okay? And they need to get a screenshot of the fifth page that they arrive at. And what they are going to do is you're going to ask them that on their platform, students need to write a short summary of the content that they read. So this is fantastic for extensive reading, okay? And also to start integrating other skills such as writing that, as we saw, not many of you were practicing. So, and this can be done asynchronically, all right? So they simply click 5 times, they get a screenshot, and they give us a summary of what information appears in that 5th link, okay? And they post the screenshot and the summary in the platform that we are using. That it could be, I don't know, Moodle, Google Classroom, Edmodo, Schoology, whatever. The other cool thing about doing this activity is that it will also give us ideas of our students' interest for online resources, because now we will know what websites our students really serve and they are interested in looking at. And this will be input for us in order to start developing more activities for the future, or where we should serve to look for material. So that's my second activity for you. Third activity would be blog log. And the idea here is that you need to get students to choose a blog of their choice for some time, okay? If students are not bloggers, which probably the little ones are not, but teenagers, they always have a blog or something. There is this website that I love that is the 50 best blogs in the world. And there are blogs for everything: sports, business, news, movies. I mean, you can find different types of blogs. And I highly recommend you share this address with your students. And what they are going to do is they are going to make a blog log, okay? Now, in order to create this blog log, you're going to give them how they are going to create the log. So they're going to write their name, of course. They're going to write the blog's name, and they're going to include the address of the blog that they are reading. They're going to also tell us about the topic, okay, so what's the blog about? And they're going to give us the entries, okay, of the blog that they read. So they can simply cut and paste the links. Okay, so they are going to write the titles for the entries, they are going to give us the links, and then they're going to share a reaction, okay, whether they like it, they didn't like it, whether it was interesting, why it was interesting. Okay, so they are going to give us all the information, and this is fantastic, again, for extensive reading and to see how they are working. They're also going to give us an overall summary of the blog, and they're going to write a short recommendation. As you can see, this is very little writing, okay? It's mainly reading, but we are also integrating writing, and they are going to give us a recommendation. Once they create the blog log, they are going to share that with your students weekly or every fortnight, okay? That's up to you. They're going to recommend it in their class forum, okay? And this is fantastic because then students can go and start following another blog, etc., etc. So next activity, the short stories activities. We love stories, and short stories are fantastic for students. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose a short story, and you're going to copy it into your forum, okay, for the platform, and you're going to write a review next to it, okay? So again, this is you working. I'm sorry, but you're going to see that all the activities that I brought, it's not us working. It's lots of activities for them to work and us to enjoy. But in order to get this activity going, you're going to choose a short story. This can be a story from your book, or it can be a story that you find online, and you're going to write a short review next to it. That will serve as a sample. Now, there are many websites with short stories, okay? Here I selected 3 websites that I always liked for short stories. And the good thing about these websites is that you have the stories graded by level, age group, topics, okay? So they're really cool websites where you can get lots of short stories, okay? Some of them also have a word count, so you can have 25 words short stories, or 50-word short stories, etc., etc. Okay. Once you do all that, you're going to get students to read the story and to comment on it and your review. Okay. So they are going to read your story and your review, and they're going to comment on that. Okay. Once they worked with your story and your review, you're going to ask them to choose a story, and you can direct them to any of these websites, and to choose a story and to write a 25-word long review to share in your class forum. So the same thing that you did, they are going to do it, okay? Now, an adaptation to this activity is that instead of everybody posting all the stories, they can send you the reviews and the stories privately to you through private message, and then you can have and you can share 3 or 4 of the students' selection of stories and their reviews, and you can keep on doing this activity weekly with all the material that students produced. And here you see the twist for us enjoying this quarantine period and not having to produce all the material all the time, okay? Students can produce lots of material that then we can recycle, give it a twist, and use it for more learning purposes. And those who were my students that are in the audience, they know that I'm a fan of doing this, getting students to work, putting them at the center of attention, and me enjoying life, okay? Always with lots of respect, right? Next one is Jigsaw Task. We know about Jigsaw reading, okay? Why not implementing it online? So what we are going to do for this is we are going to choose a story from our book, or it can be a story from the websites that I just recommended to you. What you're going to do, so here, for example, we can have this story, even for the little ones. A story can be a comic, right? So remember that. You're going to get students into group, and you're going to ask them to read the story. Grouping the students can be done asynchronically through the platform, or it can be, if you're working online, I wouldn't recommend you to do these activities synchronically. This is an activity that should be done asynchronically. And what you're going to do is you're going to create different tasks for each of the groups that you created. Now, this is fantastic for differentiation purposes, okay? So you have a story, and to some students, you can ask them to focus on something, the other groups can focus on something else. So you develop different reading tasks at different levels. And once you have that, what you will do is when they all finish reading, you ask them to report the results of the tasks, okay? And all together, okay, they can share their findings. And that is for the follow-up, okay? And it can become speaking, and that's for the moment of synchronic instruction, okay? So for the follow-up, when everybody shares the results of their reading activity, they will learn what the rest did, and they can learn other things about the text, okay? So these are 5 reading activities that I selected for you. Now, writing, let's get into writing. Advantages of writing, okay. Activities can be book or internet-based, okay? So if you're using a book, you can do your book activities online, or they can be activities based on material that you find online, and they can be done during class or after class. If you're going to do them during class synchronically, because you really want to work with writing process, with a process writing, and in class, remember, you can have all of them with docs, and you can be looking at their Google Docs as they're writing, and you can be helping them. If it's not, that will be difficult, okay? But it's an option, and we need to acknowledge it. If not, asynchronically, okay, you will work with feedback. The other thing is that there is a wide range of sites where students can upload their work, okay? I highly recommend all of you, if you're not a blogger, become a blogger. It's really easy, okay? There are many free blog websites, okay? And start having your blog, your class blog, okay? Because we always talked about writing portfolios, and the way of having the writing portfolios in these pandemic times is through blogs, okay? But if not, you can use wikis or whatever, okay? But there are possibilities where they can post their material. And the good thing is that just because we always ask them to read someone else, like for example, the blog log, we ask them to go and to read other person's blogs. Why not giving them the opportunity of having some authorship and really becoming the authors, and that the world would read them, even mommy, daddy, granny, grandpa, whoever, okay? So I really believe in that, and I think these are the great conditions that we have nowadays with the COVID, that they can really become writers and publish online. Of course, they can produce short or long text, that's up to you, and we should be happy with a 20-word reply or a 100-word reply, okay? So we can really get them writing a lot, and that's fantastic. The other thing is that publishing students' work online can be very motivating for them, and we need to remember that, as I said before. And finally, some web tools lend themselves to collaborative work, such as blogging or Google Docs. So they can be writing individually, or they can be writing collaboratively through Google Docs, for example, okay? And that is less pieces of writing for us to correct, of course. Okay, so first activity, your picture, my story, okay? Now, this is a nice activity. What we are going to do is we are going to get students to look for a striking picture to tell a story and post them in your forum or class blog, if you have one, together with a theme, okay? So this could be a picture from the internet. If you're using a book, something that I always say is get them to choose a picture from the book, okay? So that they can really explore the book and they don't just discover the book as you're teaching the book, okay? So get them to explore, and they simply take a picture of the picture that they found and they upload it to the forum together with a theme, okay? So for example, in this page of a book, okay, they could have selected this picture or any other picture. What you're going to do is you're going to assign a photo to each of the students for them to write a story. And you see, this is what I was talking about. It's not us looking for the pictures and looking for the themes. If we get 20 students, 30 students to look for pictures and themes, we have a variety of materials that then we will use, okay? So at this point, students are going to receive a picture and a theme from a classmate, okay? And they're going to write a story. And you're going to get students to write the story based on the instructions that you give them. So you're going to give them the instructions. Something that I cannot emphasize enough is that with online teaching, we really need to be very clear about instructions, and probably you discovered this already. Everything needs to be in writing and clearly detailed. So for example, you're going to give them these instructions that for the activity that is my story, you're going to say, okay, so look at the picture and imagine you were there when that happened, okay? Write a number of words. It could be 20-word story, 50-word story, whatever, entry telling your story. Include the following information: where you were, who you were with, what you saw, what you did, what happened, how you felt it, etc. Okay, that's up to you. When you finish, proofread your story and post it together with the picture, okay? And answer any question your classmates make about your story. The good thing about this is that you see, when students publish all the stories, the student that originally chose that picture and thought of that theme might be more interested into replying, might be like, wow, I never imagined a story like that. When I selected the picture, my ideas were this or were that, okay? And that could build up into more discussion through writing. And that really triggers the thirst for writing in our students. Why? Because we ask students to choose for a picture, then we remove the picture. That kind of puzzled our students, but then we give them the original picture now with a text, and they really need to work on that. And I think that's really interesting for them, and it would really get them motivated to write more. And what they can write is simply a reply, or they can write another version of the story, and then you can work with the two stories, the two versions of the stories for the same picture, and you can use that for reading purposes and discuss that. I mean, as you can see, students can create a lot of material that then can be input for us to use and to keep on teaching language while we enjoy our weekends, okay? So it's not about spending hours and hours on the computer looking for material and designing activities. It's about getting them to do and to work and to really generate material. And when they work with material that they generated or their classmate generated, they will be more interested in keeping on working, okay? So that's one activity. The other one, those who know me, you know that I'm kind of a rebel. I always try to look for the complicated thing about everything. So I always liked using this activity with my students, and it's the anti-protocols, okay? And the anti-protocols is an activity that really demands high levels of thinking as well, because what you're going to do is you're going to get students in pairs or trios, okay? And ask them to think of things that they shouldn't do for something, okay? So it's thinking backward, let's say, okay, in a reverse way. So it's not the logical thinking. This is the complicated thinking. So it's about creating, okay? It's not remembering things that they need to do. We are aiming for them to work at the creative level. So you're going to ask them to write an anti-protocol with at least 5 recommendations and share them in your class forum or your class blog. So for example, what to do if you have a computer problem, okay? So the anti-protocol would be, first of all, panic, which we know that's not what we need to do, but we need to think backward, okay? So panic, okay? Think that you have lost everything, which we know that's not what we need to think. Do not ask for help, which we know that that's what we have to do. Shout at your computer and hit the keyboard, okay? Or throw your computer away and buy a new one, okay? So that's an anti-protocol. It's fun, it's engaging, it's different, it's not predictable, okay? And it would really motivate students. And you can use this for any theme, okay? So you're going to give this as a sample. They can keep on adding more things to do to the sample that you give in order to make sure that they understood what an anti-protocol is. And once they understood, what you're going to do is you're going to give them a list of problems, of topics. So for example, I thought about how to improve your English. That's a question that our students ask a lot. Teacher, how can I improve my English? Okay, and we always keep telling them, do this, do that. Okay, let's ask them to think backwards, okay? The things that you don't have to do, okay? Or how to study for a test, okay? Could be another topic. Or how to have fun on a Friday night in your town. Or how to do well in a job interview if we are teaching adults, okay? Or how to be organized, a nice topic for an anti-protocol, especially with teenagers, okay? So this is cool, this is engaging, and it activates high levels of thinking, and it's a writing activity that does not really demand a lot from students in terms of writing, but a lot in terms of thinking, and that can really get them motivated. The other one is I would like some information, okay? This is an activity that we always do, I think, but now it can be done online very easily. What we are going to do is we are going to get students in pair, and we are going to assign each of them a role, typical role-playing activity, okay? So, for example, student A is going to be a travel agent, student B is going to, would like some information about tourist destination. Typical real classroom situation. How are we going to work with this in writing? We're going to ask them to write the text for the conversation. This can be done interactively through Google Docs. It can be done interactively through email. Okay, It can be done through WhatsApp, okay, if they have phones. So there are many ways in which this can be done interactively and at the level of writing. And you're going to ask students to share the conversation with you. Now, a cool way of doing this is through asking them to fake their WhatsApps, okay, if they don't have WhatsApp. So the conversation could be something like this. This is my fake WhatsApp. Hi, I'd like to ask for some information about package holidays to Egypt. Of course, when would you like to travel and for how long? I was planning on visiting during November, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but this is a fake WhatsApp that I created using the fakewhatsapp.com/generator. Okay, and students, if they did it through Google Docs, then you can ask them to create a template. And what happens is that they will download the picture, okay, all the pictures for the interaction. If they did it from the first time on with their WhatsApps because they are adults or teenagers, what they will do is they will just get a screenshot of their cell phones and they will share that with you. But again, an interesting way of doing something that could be used for speaking into writing, that could be interactive. So writing wouldn't be boring because it's on my own. They could first do it through Google Docs. Then once they have it, they can copy and paste that into the fake WhatsApp creator. Many ways into getting them busy, getting them using the tools that are available online and to play with English, okay? More than playing, I would say using English, okay? Now, what's the story? This is another cool activity for writing. So you're going to get students to think of a story, okay? They can do this individually or in groups. So let's say Friday today, I asked them for homework. Okay, guys, for the next class, think of a story, okay? Just start thinking of a story. And you're going to ask them to write the story in dialogue format, okay? Why in dialogue format? Because then we will ask them to either draw this story, okay, or to use images from the book, okay? For example, let's say all the books, they have comics, okay? Look at this. I selected a grammar activity, okay? An activity to use demonstratives, this and that, okay? But I can transform this into a story, okay? So if they cannot illustrate, they can readapt the comics from a book, okay? And they are going to share this with their classmates, okay, in the forum. Now, if they cannot illustrate, there is this amazing website that I highly recommend, even for us teachers. If you are just like me, that I am really bad at drawing, there is this amazing website on the internet that is storyboardat.com, that what it does, it lets you create your own comics, okay? So you have a wide variety of scenarios. You have a wide variety of characters. You can change the hair color, the eyes, etc. You can change the positions. They can be sitting, they can be standing, they can be having their arms up, down, etc. They can be looking you face to face, turning left, right. So you can really create all the stories, and they can insert their comments in the speech bubbles. And there are different speech bubbles, like for shouting, talking. So it's fantastic. It's a great tool. You can really spend hours there creating stories, okay? So students can write a story and then they can create it. And what happens is that if you don't pay, which of course I didn't pay, I never paid, you can download this and it will give you a PDF with a watermark with the brand of the website. It really doesn't matter, okay? You can read the story because it's a very light gray shade, so it's easy to read. Now, if students don't want to have the watermark, what they can do is, just as I did here for this story, they can screenshot the part of their board. This is when I was creating my story, okay? and they can insert it in a Word document, or they can simply use the pictures and upload them in your forum. So this is a cool way of making writing something very creative, even though we know that writing is creative, but creative from the artistic perspective, because we know some students are not very linguistically gifted, but they are more artistically gifted. So for those who are, let them draw, let them use the tools online, okay? The last one is fake. That's fake news. In times of fake news, I thought that a cool thing could be to ask them to write a news article based on a task from your course book or something that you give them, or a reversion of your local newspaper, but with wrong information. Okay, so we are every single day receiving news. So what we are going to ask them is to write the fake news for a real piece of news. So you're going to ask students to create their article together with one or two true stories. And there are these two websites that are fantastic for creating newspapers, okay? So when students copy and paste their news in the text editor, it gives them the image of a newspaper, as you can see, all right? And it really looks true, okay? And they can create the name of the newspaper and everything. And that is really fantastic because it will give authenticity. What will happen later on is once the students have their newspaper page produced together with their fake news and the real news that they simply copied and paste from the BBC News or the New York Times or whatever, you're going to ask them to share the articles to the class, and students will have to read all those newspapers with the fake and the real news, okay? And students would have to spot the fake news, okay? I think this is a cool thing to do in terms of fake news, and also to work at the level of critical thinking for students to realize about how many fake news are going on, are out there, okay? And how important it is that we always cross-check information, etc., etc. Those who know me, you know that I'm a fan of critical thinking and high levels of thinking. So I am always interested in seeing how I can make the traditional instruction not to really become that traditional and look like from the 40s or 30s or 50s or 70s, but really to be 21st century like. So let's move into listening, okay? What things can we do for listening? Before that, let's talk about the advantages. First of all, it's that there is a wide variety of listening materials, up to date and topical out there online, okay? And we should benefit from that, okay? You can even find authentic materials or materials that were really commissioned for ELT purposes. The other thing is that you can generate activities to promote more extensive listening than in regular classroom situations, okay? So try not to create activities that are fully intensive listening, okay? Try to create activities that really work at different levels of attention, okay? So some of them can be listen for general idea or something like that, and we will see some of the activities that I brought are for that. Okay, one of the basic things is that simply online listening, okay? That you select from websites, okay? Practice activities, okay? There are many websites like this one I'm sharing with you that has lots of activities for students to do online listening. The only negative thing is that this doesn't have trackability, so you never really know whether they answer well or not, okay? But there are many, many websites out there with lots of activities already designed. Use them, okay? Now, let's get into activities. My favorite podcast, okay? What they are going to do, this is like the log that I suggested for reading. This is for podcasts. So you're going to share instructions with students in the forum, okay? So in this case is, for example, listen to at least 3 podcasts, choose one and complete the description below. Give them a link, give me the link, the topic, why you liked it, and how often a new podcast is produced. Then post it in our class forum and listen to at least 2 podcasts from your classmates and comment on them, all right? So when students completed the task, you ask them to read the comments and to comment on at least 2 posts from their peers. And again, as you can see, this is lots of opportunities for students to provide you with material and be the generators of materials, okay? So I really recommend you doing this because it's not about looking for podcasts, it's about them looking for podcasts. And at the same time, this is like with reading, we get an idea of what they like, all right? And they will be listening to things that they like. Next, before moving next, here is a list of some popular podcasts that I recommend to you. You have Breaking News English, China 232, you have the ELT podcast, you have English Conversations, you have, if you are into business English, you have ESL Business News, you have the ESL Pod, and you have podcasts in English. These are some of the many podcasts that are available online. Now, what's my line? This is a great activity. I love this activity. What you're going to do is you're going to ask students to look for 2 film trailers. There are 2 websites that I recommend that are full of film trailers. And you know that working with film trailers is fantastic because they are visual and at the same time, they have some language, but not lots of language. So you have the Apple one, okay, and you have the Yahoo one, okay? And you always have the latest news. So they are going to look for 2 film trailers. Once they have the 2 film trailers, you're going to ask them to write 2 lines from it and make up one. So intensively speaking, they will need to literally quote 2 lines from the trailer, and then they will need to write a make-up line that is not mentioned in the trailer. Once they have that, they have the 2 trailers, and for each trailer, they have a set of 3 sentences, of 3 lines, sorry, one of them, which is a made-up one. You're going to ask them to post the activity in their forum. So they're going to post the link of the trailer together with the lines, okay? And you're going, once you have all the lines, you're going to get students to spot which is the incorrect line for all the trailers, okay? So again, your students generated, like, let's say you have 20 students, they generated 40 listening activities, okay, for students to watch 40 different trailers. Again, a load of material that was student generated that really demanded for listening, okay, at the intensive level, and then that you can share with your class, okay? The other one is spot the difference, okay? You're going to select a news story and you're going to copy the original news in your platform or forum, okay? The story can be a story from a website like the BBC website again. You're going to record yourself, and this is important because they need to listen to us speaking in English and retelling the story. But at this time, you're going to retell the story with some changes, okay, compared to the original one. What will the students do? The students will listen to your version of the story and they will read the original version of the story, and they need to spot the difference, okay? So this is an activity that integrates reading and it also integrates listening. And again, that will ask students to be listening carefully, okay? So these are some listening activities. And I'm running. Speaking. How can we practice the advantages of speaking? First of all, students can practice speaking skills with the teacher or students at the time during class or after it. We need to remember it. Speaking is not just for synchronic instruction. It can also be for asynchronic instruction. You can bring a guest. I mean, we always have friends in the USA, in the US, the UK, Canada, South Africa, Australia. We have lots of English speaking people out there in the world. This is the time to invite a guest to our classes, okay? And for students to be in touch with native speakers, okay? Through Skype, through Zoom, through Crea and Big Blue Button. Let's bring the guests, okay? Now more than ever, it's very easy for us to bring guests, okay? You can closely monitor students speaking, okay? This is even easier now than if you're in a face-to-face class, because if students are recording themselves, you can really listen carefully to every single student and give them proper feedback. I'm a fan of Zoom. My didactic students know that, okay? And I'm a fan of breakout rooms in Zoom. In Zoom, you have this tool, probably you have used it, that is breakout rooms, in which you can divide your students into small groups, and then you enter each of the breakout rooms and you can be listening to what they are saying. And it's exactly like monitoring the classroom, okay? Use that, okay? And the other thing is that learners can create their speaking portfolio nowadays, because if you're asking them to create, to record themselves, ask them to create a speaking portfolio, and that they can see their progress in terms of speaking throughout the, let's not say school year, because I hope this does not go for an entire year, but over 1 month or 2 months, etc. Okay, so they can keep track of their improvements. So the first activity is the class lecturer. We know that students love lecturing sometimes. They lecture their peers, they lecture us. So get students to record themselves and to lecture on any specific topic. And this is great preparation for presentations, for debates, okay? So it's something that we can start training them now. So what you can do is you can give them a topic, okay? Or it's a topic that they choose themselves, okay? And you're going to ask the students to design a 6 or 8 comprehension question activity for that lecture that they record, okay? Once they have the recording with the comprehension questions, you're going to ask students to answer the questions, okay? And to post them on the platform, okay? So students are going to post their recording with the questions, and classmates have to answer that. Now, I'm speaking so fast that I'm losing track of what I'm saying. Sorry. Something that it's important. If you're not very confident, or if you don't want students to feel embarrassed or whatever, what you can do is you can ask them, students, to give you the recordings through private message or through as an assignment in Crea or in Edmodo or whatever. And together with the questions, once you check the audio and everything, you start posting the lectures per day or every 2 days or every 3 days, okay? But again, lots of student-generated material that we can use. Tongue twister challenge. We know that the COVID has awakened a need for creating challenges. We had, for example, the toilet paper challenge, okay, and many, many other challenges, okay? So let's create a tongue twister challenge. How are we going to play this? We are going to give a tongue twister either in writing or recorded by you to our students. I would recommend that we record ourselves saying the tongue twister, okay? Not just giving it in writing. And we're going to ask students to record themselves saying the tongue twister 3 times. The thing is that at each time, they should record the tongue twister faster. And the idea is to see, we are challenging students, okay? They need to see if they can say it as fast as we can say it and accurately, okay? So it's competing against us, okay? And I think that's really cool. Another thing that you can do is afterwards to ask students to look for tongue twisters online, okay? And to start challenging classmates, okay? So, but in order to challenge a classmate, they need to present the recorded version of themselves saying that new tongue twister, okay? And you can have your class tongue twister challenge. And this is fantastic because, you know, tongue twisters are great to assess segmental features of the language. So word stress, individual sounds, etc. All right. So it's not that we will be able to assess suprasegmental things, or that we will be able to assess interactional patterns, but we can help them develop the segmental ones. Then the PowerPoint storytelling. Okay, those who know me, you know that I'm a fan of storytelling. So how to create PowerPoint storytelling? We are going to get students to create a PowerPoint slideshow to tell a story. What students need to do is we need to ask students to record a video of their computer screen with a slideshow as they tell the story. That's what I use is QuickTime, okay, and PowerPoint. So with QuickTime, I just frame the area that I want to be recorded, and students will be moving slides, and they will be recording their voices. As you can see, this is something important. All the activities that I'm suggesting for speaking are activities that demand recording, but not video recording. And this is because we know some parents and principals and even students don't want their faces, the faces of their kids recorded and online, okay? So all this is voice recording, all right? What you're going to do is you're going to tell students to post their videos, okay, in the class forum, okay, together with some comprehension questions. So students then, here you have, again, lots of material that was created for speaking purposes, but that can become an animated story and that you will be able to use for listening afterwards. And of course, something that students can use is our storyboard.com website, where they can have beautifully illustrated stories that they can copy and paste and use into their PowerPoint if they are not good at drawing. But this is something that you can also do to work in coordination with the arts teacher, okay? And they can get their drawings assessed by the drawing teacher, okay? So as you can see, there are opportunities to also work in coordination, okay? Now, recording coursebook tasks, okay? Sometimes we need to use material from the coursebook, okay? Or we need to, or we have to, because it's a way of getting some minutes for us in our lives. So we resource to material that comes from coursebooks. So you're going to select an interaction activity from the coursebook that you are using, okay? And most coursebooks have all the interaction activities also recorded. So what we are going to do is, the reason why they record the activities in coursebooks is because they need to serve as a model, okay, for students. So this is like a scaffold. What we are going to ask them is to make them believe that we are going to sell the recording to the publisher, okay, with the final stage. So you're going to work with all the functional language and everything, all the vocabulary, and students are going to use WhatsApp or and their voice notes from WhatsApp. So they're going to call themselves and they're going to activate the voice recording from their cell phones, and they're going to interact through WhatsApp, and they're going to act out the dialogue or whatever, and then they will send you that recording. And this is an opportunity for us to see how their speaking is at the level of interaction, okay? Once they finish, they should upload that recording on the platform simply. And now you can assess their speaking at the level of interaction. Okay, and the last activity is to make a video website ad. You know how there are these ads that promote products? Okay, we know that students are online lots of the time, most of the time. So let's ask them to become marketing people and to create a video promoting an ad, a website, okay? So what we are going to do is we are going to ask students to make the video describing a website of their choice. One of my best websites is the Richmond website for obvious reasons. Okay, so what we are going to do, ask students is, again, they can use QuickTime and they can simply frame the website. So this is similar to, remember, the 5-click away for the reading activity, okay, and websites that they liked, okay? At this point, they can create a video. So they can say, it's like, come and surf the amazing Richmond website where you can find and blah, blah, blah. And they can be clicking the links and tell us about the website, okay? They can describe the website. They can tell us about their features. They can describe special sections. They can give us an overall opinion. So this is like, you know how there are YouTubers that recommend video games and all that? They can also create material recommending the websites that they really like. And what they can do is then they can post those videos in your class forum, and students can simply comment. It's like, wow, I also surf that website very often, or this or that, or they have another one that probably you might be interested in surfing, okay? So that's, that was the agenda for today. We discussed the advantages of all the 4 macro skills for language instruction, and we got to look into possible activities that we can implement in the classroom to use either coursebook material or online resources. And something that I really want you to understand is that there is no way of doing online teaching if it's not working collaboratively and cooperatively with students, okay? It's not us producing all the material, it's students becoming the protagonists, because we should not forget that the online thing and the digital thing is our students' thing. They rule there. They are the ones who know a lot better. So we cannot go and preach them about how to work online. On the contrary, what we need to do is we need to give them that protagonism, okay? And we really need to get them produce material, and based on some guidance that we give them. And with that production, we exploit that into opportunities for language learning for our students, okay? So let's remember that these are really big times for us to join with our students in the learning process, to really understand this Freirean thing, that learning and teaching is a two-way process, and that it's not only us teaching, but it's us learning as well. And it's not just students learning, it's students teaching, and that they need to create most of the material. So thank you so very much for your time, really, okay? And if you have any question, feel free to ask me. I don't know why those lines appear there. I see that, oh, the chat is very active. Thank you. Well, thank you guys. That was great. Thank you so.
Hello.
Within. Yeah, so, guys, mics are open, I think. Okay. I don't know if you have any questions.
Hello.
No? Moment to say TGIF, everybody. Okay, finally, it's Friday.
Thank you, Nicolás. Well, many meaningful and very practical ideas for our colleagues. So congratulations. We really enjoyed it. So now it is time, yes, to put everything into practice, and let's see what happens. Yes, we would like to hear from you and to tell us how it went if you implemented it. So, well, you're welcome to implement these activities. Nicolás, a very practical question, because we know that people here are very shy and they won't ask you, but they would like to know whether they can have access to the PowerPoint presentation.
Absolutely.
And maybe to the video recording, if it is feasible for you, because I know it's like an hour and a half, so it's such a long video, and I don't know whether it will be possible for you to
Yeah, I will
maybe shorten it a bit and edit it. Mm-hmm.
No, what I will do is you have the YouTube channel for Inspección.
Exactly.
I can share it with you and you can upload it to the YouTube channel for those who couldn't attend, because I saw that the room was full most of the time. So if people couldn't watch the presentation, they will be able to have it there, and with the video they can pause and look at the websites and everything. But anyway, I will give you the PowerPoint, and probably, I don't know if you can share it somewhere through the social media. Okay.
Trial.
Okay, so maybe now it is time to
Trial.
so we can clap.
Okay.
Applause for Nicolás and
Everybody.
Nicolás. Now everybody
Thank
is
you.
pleased, and let's go and rest.
Thank you.
And so,
Trial.
thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Love you very much. Bye.
I love you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Nico.
Welcome. Thank you,
Trial.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Espera que voy a sacar esto.
Lo que le cocina, arroz carbonizado,
Bye.
un poco de carne picada. O sea, se le da de comer el arroz a la vieja usanza, ¿verdad? A la época de mis padres. Y no se le deja sin comer y la gente no se agobia.